All right, it looks like we're live here in the Inspiring Wellness Group. This is Jennifer Davis. I apologize. I'm not sure where I am right now. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to tag a couple of people. Make sure that this gets its visibility that it needs. All right. Okay, so while I'm waiting for a few people to join, and if you're joining, say hey. So this is our continuing education for February. So we're all about oils and love, and so we're going to talk about oils in the bedroom. So before I start, actually, I don't have any oils with me, so let me run over there, the other side of my room, and grab my bedroom oils. All right. So let me just really quick make sure I'm in the right place. Lisa, you got me nervous. Okay, I am in the right place. Okay, so we're in the Inspiring Wellness Group. This is our private group for our customers only to learn some amazing things about oils. So tonight we're going to talk about oils in the bedroom. So this should be fun. Hopefully my lighting is good tonight. Okay, so I have a couple of oils with me because those are what I happen to have here in my space that I can grab. And let me pull up my notes really quick, and then off we will go. So let's talk about the difference between men and women, okay? So this is generally speaking, I realize some of us are not normal. I know I am not, so not all of this applies to me, and sometimes it's reversed in my particular situation. But men think about sex often, as where women don't think about sex all that often. Of course, I notice now that I'm getting older, it's kind of starting to do this reverse thing. Men are usually ready anytime, as where we need a little warm-up period. And then men can usually bypass the emotional aspect of it, as where we need to be emotionally enticed, which if I have any guys listening, by the way, ladies, get your guys to listen to this. For emotional enticing, sometimes we need non-sexual touches throughout the day. We need to feel that connection emotionally to our partner. So that's really important. We can also do that with essential oils, which I'll talk about. So for men, sex is a stress reliever, as where women tend to stress about it. And I'm just going to be really honest with you, ladies. It can be a stress reliever for you too. So if you're super stressed, don't say no, because I promise you it will help you feel better. Men are motivated when they feel needed, as where we as women feel motivated when we feel cherished. So that's really important as well. Okay, so let me see here, move my notes along. So women, when we suffer from low sex drive or low libido, we typically, it's caused by just sexual problems, poor health, maybe medications we're on, such as antidepressants or even birth control, fatigue. We have babies and we tend to be very, very tired. We get adrenal fatigue a lot, which, by the way, last week I spoke about cortisol. And so I talk a little bit about adrenal fatigue from last week. We have menopause, and then we have pregnancy and breastfeeding that also drops our libido down. So when we have too much estrogen, that causes low sex drive. When we, and that usually means that we don't have enough progesterone, which also causes low sex drive. Okay, so I have Lisa asking a question. So those of you who are maybe can't see her question, why is it stressful for women? Well, here's the thing. We get stressed because, and I'll tell you from my point of view, because I have a toddler, I'm always worried, like, is he going to wake up? I'll be also, all these years, I'm like, okay, wait, what day in the month is it? Am I fertile? Am I not fertile? Do I want to have a baby? Do I not want to have a baby? It's like all this stress. We stress about how we look. We stress about, you know, is there something else we should be doing? So there's a lot of different things that women stress, and I think that's because we put so much emotion behind it, especially if we have, you know, self-worth issues specifically. Okay, so going back to sex drive, and if you're joining, make sure you say hey so I know that this is working. So did you know that essential oils can raise your libido by creating sensation, changing your mindset, which I think is very fascinating, and changing your body temperature? So essential oils can reduce stress and elevate moods. We already know that, okay, because we talk a lot about that. Last week I talked about stress. But by using essential oils to reduce stress and elevate mood, we can promote the increased feelings of sensuality and sexual energy. I'm going to talk about Lang Lang tonight. I have a funny story. So we have a diffuser in my bedroom, and if the kids are in bed, like my husband's putting kids to bed or whatever, which he does a lot of nights, and, you know, if I'm in the mood, because, you know, I'm thinking about it all the time, that's just me, and if I diffuse Lang Lang in my diffuser and my husband walks in the room, he knows immediately, and he gets this look on his face like, what are you up to? And it's pretty funny. So when you use certain oils, you can inspire getting in the mood. And also, oh, I didn't do it yet, but when I'm done tonight, I have some recipes and protocols that I'm going to talk about tonight, and I'm going to pop them into the album so you guys have access to them and you can save them for your personal use. Okay, so moving on. So to increase your libido, there's actually a lot of different recipes that I'm going to share with you, but one in particular is in a roller bottle. So if you have like a roller bottle, you would put in 5 drops of Whisper and 5 drops of Elevation. And that's actually going to help you, well, I'll tell you because I actually saved this. I wanted to talk about those two. Whisper is the blend. I want to talk about what Whisper does for you emotionally. I love that oil. It actually is in my bathroom. I keep it because I like to put it on after a shower. It makes me smell clean and fresh and more feminine. So Whisper is the oil of femininity, and it helps with helping you feel the acceptance of your womanhood, kind, gentle, connected to mother, and healthy sexuality. And it deals with the negative emotions that make you feel blocked or imbalanced female energy, which you can take that however you want, but sometimes, like in my life at least, I can be a controller, and I'm like, I can be the aggressor and the assertive one, and so Whisper helps me become softer and slower in some of that stuff. So, and often, and funny thing, and helps me be more gracious. So, it also deals with overly masculine anger or resistance towards women. So this would be a good one for men as well who are struggling with that particular issue. Maybe not just in the marriage, but just in general. Some men have been hurt by women, and so Whisper can be really helpful. So we're getting really deep here. So it's also good for women issues, repressed sexuality, disconnected from mother. So those are all the negative emotions that it deals with. So I really like that particular blend for its femininity. Okay, so 5 drops Whisper, 5 drops Elevation, which is a joyful blend. It's a happy blend. It just makes you feel so happy. Okay, so the next thing is an oil called Neroli, and this one is just an amazing essential oil. It's a flower. It comes in a roller bottle, so you can just kind of roll it on. And when they just got this oil, and I was loving it, I of course was putting it on everybody and looking at the husband and saying, "You're welcome." And they laughed because hours later they knew what I meant. So what I was doing is just rolling it on the wrist, and it smells so pretty. I just love the smell of that one, even alone. But if you add a citrus oil to it, It kind of lightens it up and makes it smell a little bit more fruity instead of flower. But neroli actually comes from orange blossom, so I think it complements orange oil really, really well. It's for, actually, let me look up neroli really quick for you, because I think this is pretty, a pretty good blend for some things that can go pretty deep for people. All right, so I probably should have put some tabs in my book. So neroli is the oil of shared purpose and partnership, and it's a unifying and stabilizing oil. Let's see, let me go to the actual list of emotions. So it deals with negative emotions: conflicted, restless, impatient, bitter, frustrated, unsympathetic, dispassionate, so not passionate, sexual inhibition, aloof, stagnant, blaming, escapism. So if you have issues in marriage that, or in just your relationships, that cause you to kind of feel these things, especially the bitterness, because us women, we typically kind of go there, then neroli can be really helpful as you're unpacking those emotions and wanting to have a healthier relationship. It helps you feel more passionate, empathetic, which is actually why I use it, because I tend to be more apathetic, so I like to use this one for empathy and helping me connect with that empathy that I know is in there. It's also good for fidelity, and it's an intimate oil. It helps with sexual desire, resiliency, and commitment as well. It goes really well with geranium, which we're going to talk about tonight, jasmine, cinnamon, whisper blend. So it's really good with a lot of those blends, or those oils that we're going to talk about. So it has a lot to do with good luck, happiness, fertility, and virginity, calming, and also seduction and lure as well, which us women, we really don't need help in that arena as far as the guys are concerned. We got that going on no matter what oil we put on. But sometimes we need help in that department to feel like that, and that kind of helps get us in the mood as well. So let me kind of share with you some history about this oil. It's derived from the name from actually a 16th century Italian princess, Anne Marie of Norola, who was the wife of Prince Flavio Orsini. And she wore this as a perfume, and as a result, many other noble women followed. So it's kind of like an oil that's associated with nobility specifically. And she was kind of like a trailblazer in the perfume industry, apparently, because now everybody wants to use neroli. So it was also known to be used by Queen Elizabeth I, or the first, I don't know how you would say that, of England. And the flower itself was kind of, they think it maybe came from the name, the Roman Emperor Nero, so it also could be coming from that as well. So there's a lot of cool history, and a lot of it comes from like nobility and royalty as well. So it's kind of known for that. So what I love is that I'm not a princess, but man, I can put an oil on and feel like one. So it's also used, it goes back even to ancient Arabic time, and it was recommended as a cure. I know I'm not allowed to say cure, but that's what they used it for impotence in men. And it was often employed in aphrodisiac blends as an aid to virility for the men and the women. So like I said, it comes from the orange blossom, and so a lot of times these orange blossoms were woven into the bride's bouquet for hundreds of years, because it symbolized good luck, happiness, and fertility to the bridal couple, which was really important back then. And then when the bride wore the orange blossoms in her hair, it was basically proclaiming her virginity, which was also very important back then. They would also put these orange blossoms into the bridal bed to calm those nerves that you get when it's going to be your first time and you just got married and it's this big deal. And I could have definitely used some of that on my wedding night. And it to help deal with feelings of apprehension as well on the woman's part. So the other thing is other women, types of women that were maybe not married, would use this as a perfume to seduce and lure men into, the things that they were doing, which that's a totally different story. So it basically symbolizes both seduction and sexual purity, which I think is so cool that it can be so diverse either way. Okay, so as women age, their bodies naturally decrease production of estrogen and progesterone. So we're going to talk about something that's not an oil, but is actually a supplement that I highly recommend for women who are dealing with some of these particular issues. It's an adaptogenic that helps balance the hormones, and this is phytoestrogen. If I had a bottle, I would show it to you, but it's phytoestrogen. I'll be putting a photo of this in the albums as well. It is for women that are going through menopause, perimenopause, and for men as well. Did you know men can go through menopause? It's called andropause. Women or men that are struggling with hormone imbalances and mood swings. So while it's called doTERRA Women, it's not just for women. Men can take it too. It has a flaxseed extract which reduces hormone metabolite load and offers a chemopreventative benefit. It has pomegranate extract which helps to manage the physical symptoms of menopause, including hot flashes and aging of skin, and helps to ease the headaches that women typically have during that time of life. So we often talk about hot flashes when we talk about peppermint, we talk about clary calm, but what if we got to the root and served the body with a proper supplement? Okay, so men need this as well, and it helps them to be able to utilize their own testosterone and keep a healthy balance, which means getting rid of all xenoestrogens they are exposed to. And if you look up a list of what is a xenoestrogen, you will see it's lots and lots of things. If you drink out of plastic water bottles, if you drive a car, men that are specifically work around construction and mechanics have chemicals that are hormone disruptors. But you have chemicals in your home if you still are cleaning with toxins. Those are hormone disruptors as well. We've got it in our makeup. Guys have it in their deodorant and their aftershave and their colognes. It's like in everything. So we want to be using the phytoestrogen for those that are maybe showing the signs of that. Okay, so stress, and we talked about stress last week, so if you want a very thorough discussion on stress, go back through the thread and you will find it. Stress can up cortisol, and cortisol can block progesterone production. So what you can do is place several drops of grapefruit water to stop the cortisol from blocking the progesterone. So grapefruit specifically, a couple drops in water, and you want to use a glass, not plastic. Remember, we want to practice proper safety of using our oils and water, and that would be in a glass versus a plastic cup. So no plastic water bottles there. Okay, and so the next supplement I want to talk about is actually Mito-Temax, which again, I talked about that one even more thoroughly last week. Its top uses are for body exhaustion, tiredness, adrenal support, hormonal balance, which I didn't talk about last week, but cortisol is a hormone, and so it's going to help balance that. It deals with libido, physical stress, anxious feelings, and poor circulation for those that have a hard time kind of getting the blood flowing into certain parts of their body. So use that Mito-Temax. You can take 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Okay, so the next oil is a hot oil in more ways than one, and that is cinnamon. It is for low libido, and it's a sexual stimulant. So what you can do is you can take it in a capsule, or you can dilute and apply it warm, and and so it will help kind of warm up the skin, and it can be very stimulating. So just some science on this. Strongly supports the reproductive system and helps sexual issues, assists the individual in accepting their body and embracing their physical attractiveness, which a lot of women struggle with that. Dispels fear of rejection and nurtures healthy sexuality. It rekindles sexual energies when they have been repressed because of trauma or abuse, and brings clarity to those who struggle with their sexual identity. And I think it's really important for me to say that, because not everybody has a healthy sexual past. And so, in fact, most people don't. And so the idea of just being like, okay, I'm going to use these oils so I get in the mood, what's really cool is that they can help address things that are even deeper, the things that are causing us to not want to get in the mood. So how do you use it? You can inhale it directly out of the bottle throughout the day, and it is an amazing oil. I do want to point out though that cinnamon oil is often adulterated with cassia. So doTERRA cinnamon only, and you guys are in here because you are loving doTERRA. So we don't want to use another type of cinnamon because it probably isn't cinnamon. So cinnamon should smell sweet and sharp. Cassia is more smoky and heavy smelling. Very slight, but you can tell the difference when you smell them together. So inhale directly from the bottle throughout the day. Dilute 1 drop with carrier oil and rub over the pancreas. And also that serves another purpose for those that struggle with insulin production. It will support the pancreas there. And remember, it is a hot oil, so you want to make sure that you dilute it. And I'll be sharing some recipes on using cinnamon in the bedroom here in just a second. So other oils to increase libido. We have Console, which is a blend. And that one is kind of known for its ability to just kind of soothe your soul. So I actually want to look up because it does have really good uses for relationships as well. Let me find the page. Let's see here. There it is. So it deals with a lot of stuff, but it specifically deals with grieving, lost, traumatized, anxious, restless, unsettled, emotional pain and burden. So it's going to really help you feel more comforted. So this is going to be for people that are struggling in that department. They need a little bit of more comfort. Then we have Passion. So, you know, Passion is obviously a blend, and it's obviously for passion, but I have a really funny story to share about Passion. So it's actually kind of spicy, not in sensation on the skin, but when you smell it, it's got a little bit of a spice to it. And that's because it has a little bit of, it's got the cardamom and the ginger in it and the clove, and that's why it's got a little bit of a kick to it, but it also has cinnamon in it as well. But it has sandalwood, which is calming, jasmine, which is on our list of oils to increase libido, and vanilla and, let's see, how do you say this? Damiana. It's a beautiful sounding or looking word, but I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. So passion is going to be to help you be more passionate. And so not just in relationship, but also at work and in personal life. And it's going to help you feel more inspired. And so I really like using this oil anyways throughout the day. And I'm a super passionate person about the things that I'm really inspired by. So I don't need a lot of help in this arena, but it does help me kind of move on those passions a little bit more. So it's good for risk-taking, vitality, inspired. It makes you feel alive and playful and spontaneous and creative. And so that alive and playfulness thing is really important. It makes you not want to take yourself too seriously. But I do have a funny story about that. So my husband, again, like I mentioned Ling Ling, with him, passion was an oil that when he would smell it on me, he was like, oh, so that's what's going on. But then there was one day where I was like, I'm going to get the head of the game. I'm going to put passion on. I'm going to go sit on the couch next to him. And then, I don't know, he did something. You know how guys are. They do something and it just irritates you. But I noticed I was more passionate about the thing that I was irritated by. So you do need to be a little bit careful if you're one of those really passionate women that get upset really easily. Then just know that passion might make you more passionate that way as well, which can be a good thing if you're inspired to change something, but not if it causes you to pick a fight with your spouse. Okay, so that's my story. So in the bedroom, you can diffuse 2 drops of neroli. If you don't have that one, do sweet orange instead, or wild orange, sorry. 2 drops jasmine and 2 drops lang lang, and your room will smell like a garden outside. If you get a fan going in there, it'll feel like a warm summer breeze coming through the room. So I want to really quick look up rose for you so you know what that is for. And then I also want to look up jasmine because I think those are very, very important. So rose obviously is the oil of love. And it's going to help you feel more loved, more compassionate, healing, tender-hearted, which is something I always need help with. Acceptance, so self-acceptance would be really important. Empathy and receiving love from others. It also deals with closed or broken heart and constricted feelings. So if any of that identifies with you, then you definitely want to be using rose. And you can just inhale from the bottle, or you can put a little bit under your nose. Although I will admit it's a little strong to do that with, so I don't know that I would do that. And if you want, you can put 1 drop with a little bit of a carrier oil and apply over the heart. There's a lot of oils that you can use in the bedroom over the heart specifically. And then the other one is jasmine. And if you're wondering what book I have, it's this one. It's the Emotions and Essential Oils. This is actually the latest edition, so all the newest oils in it. So jasmine is the sexual purity and balance oil. It is good for unresolved sexual trauma, sexual repression, and sexual fixation. So I haven't really shared my story in here, and I probably will eventually, but when I talk about oils in the bedroom and understanding that not everybody has a healthy sexual history, one thing that I have noticed about jasmine for my particular situation, my husband actually used to struggle with a porn addiction, and this is something we talk about a lot on his ministry, and I work with a lot of women that have gone through that as well. But jasmine actually really helped me to overcome that fixation that I had on that, and the questions and the paranoia that it caused. So I really thought that oil was really helpful. So I just want to throw that out there because I realize that that's actually a very common problem in marriage, and so that is actually a really great oil to use to help overcome the emotions that are hidden because of that. Now, one thing I will say is when we are using oils to connect in our relationships, it can cause us to unpack some feelings that we didn't know that we felt, and that could be a good thing, but it may not feel good at first. So if you are struggling with, emotions you haven't felt before as you start using your oils in your relationship, just be aware that if you start to feel like that, just hang tight, guys. I promise it does get better. Just keep doing it. Hang tight and, just kind of deal with some of those as you're using your oils. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, and by the way, Console, Passion, and Rose and Jasmine, you can apply that over the abdomen, like under the belly button. Okay, so the next one, and I'm sharing some recipes after this for a homemade hormone balance serum, as well as a couple of recipes for balancing the hormones with a bunch of different oils and some instructions on how to do that. Now, another thing that you could do if you want to work on love and trust, you can put geranium under your tongue, just 1 drop, or you can put it over the abdomen as well under the belly button. Now, geranium is a really strong, pungent smelling essential oil. You would think it would smell like a pretty flower, but not all flowers smell sweet. This one is a little bit more on the pungent side, and so just keep that in mind if you are going to use that before you have your time with your spouse. They may not like the smell of it, so be prepared to dilute that one, or maybe add some citrus oil to it, or maybe even some neroli. And so over the abdomen, or 1 drop under the tongue. You do have to have a little bit of an acquired taste for that one, but you'll get it. And then the next one is Lang Lang, 1 drop under the tongue or in a capsule, and that's going to help with balancing those hormones. Okay, so I'm going to share a recipe called Sexy Butter, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that one. And then we talked about passion a little bit. It's called the love drug, and it was used by the native people of, one of the things that are in it, which is Damiana. That particular herb was used by the native people of Mexico to boost the sexual potency and work as a love drug. Mayan Indians, as well as other Central American people groups, use this herb to work against female and male sexual dysfunction, minimize the effects of asthma, decrease depression, increase energy, and help with menstruation and other impotence problems. So passion is just a good oil to be using for all those different things. Okay, so I'm sharing a blend as well after that with oils to help activate us women, to get us ready and in the mood. And then because there's some people out there, I would like to meet these people that have maybe a really, really high sex drive, and maybe their partner is more on the low side and you kind of want to do this. You want to kind of bring each other to the same level. So marjoram has been known to decrease sex drive. So you can diffuse, apply it topically, like on the abdomen, and then you can take it in a capsule as well. As a side note, marjoram is actually a really helpful pain reliever when you put it with frankincense. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about lubricants, because lubricants make everything more fun, right? So unfortunately, when you go to the store and you purchase a lubricant, there are things in it that are actually not good for you. So let's get into this. So glycerin is a metabolic byproduct of sugar, and I think Astroglide has glycerin in it. It's been so long since I've ever actually looked at ingredients for these things. But glycerin is, it actually serves as a food source for the microbes that are not good for us, so that yeast and everything. So by putting glycerin in our vaginal area where there's already yeast could actually cause you to have a yeast infection or make it more likely that you get one. So in particular, glycerin may contribute to the overgrowth of yeast, which then can cause yeast infection. So I just said that. That doesn't mean that everyone that uses glycerin containing lubricants will get a yeast infection, okay? But if you're already prone to them, then you're gonna want to avoid the glycerin as an ingredient. Just stay away from it. Another ingredient, which is called non-oxidol 9, can kill both good and bad bacteria in the vagina. And doctor who's an OBGYN, Sarah Yamaguchi, she actually talks about this in Self magazine. Whenever your vaginal bacteria gets skewed off balance, it could result in an annoying infection, like bacterial vaginosis. Manufacturers incorporating this particular ingredient into spermicidal lubricants for years because of its ability to punch holes in the cell membranes of the holes in the cell or of the sperm. So that's what it's doing. It's punching holes in the cell membranes of the sperm, and that's actually what makes it spermicidal. But they have, in the lab, they have shown that this can also happen in the cellular lining of the vagina. So that mucosal lining of the vagina is actually a really good bacteria for infection. It's a self-cleaning type of lining, and it's a really good bacteria prevention barrier all by itself. But if that barrier is compromised by putting little holes in it, then, all bets are off and you're more likely to get infections that you wouldn't get otherwise. And that was from Richard A. Cohen. He's a biophysicist at Johns Hopkins, which they're always doing really amazing research. So there's also propylene glycol, and there's a lot of alarm here because it is sometimes used as a base for de-icing agents such as antifreeze. So why would we put that inside of our body? For a good time. But we can do other things instead, and I'll talk to you about those. Other things are parabens, which may be endocrine disruptors. So parabens are like in your chapsticks even. I don't know if you know this, but they're addictive. Have you ever been addicted to your chapstick? I used to be addicted to chapstick brand lip balm, and it's because of the parabens. But they also act like estrogen, which can potentially be messing with people's hormones or even increasing their chances of getting breast cancer. So we want to avoid that one as well. So instead of using those, use things like coconut oil or grapeseed oil or shea butter. So something that I thought was really interesting is human skin tissue cells weigh around 300 isomoles, whereas KY warming jelly, so the warming, cellular weight has 30 times that of skin cells. So basically what that means is those lubricants are literally squeezing the human tissues or the cell tissues to death. So that warming sensation that you're feeling when you use that is your cells shrinking and shriveling off and falling off the tissue, which that can cause small tears and compromise the natural immune function of the genital walls, which again is what prevents us from infection. Okay. All right. So there is a Love Drug blend I'm going to share with you in the albums, and then a Love Lube. So give this one a try. You can mix that up and keep it in a jar. And then real quick, I want to talk about vitamin D2 and vitamin D3. It could possibly boost testosterone up to 30%. Some men maintain sexual desire at a relatively low testosterone level, so they don't really know that they have an issue. For other men, libido may lag even with normal testosterone levels. So just because you lag doesn't mean that your testosterone is low, and just because you don't lag doesn't mean that it's low. So it's really not about that. But low testosterone is one of the possible causes of low libido, however. So if it's lowered far enough, virtually all men will experience some decline in sex drive. So the bone nutrient complex that we sell has vitamin D2, vitamin D3 in it to help with that, hopefully. So you take that with Lifelong Vitality if you can. Okay, so I'm going to share a recipe for erectile dysfunction, which we talked about when we did men's oils back in December, because men are worried about that kind of stuff. And let's see, there's that. Okay, there's a couple of them. So we got anxious feelings, we have circulation support, which I'm going to share with you. And I think that's it. That's the end of my notes. So one of the things that I just want to say is as we get older, our sexual satisfaction does get better. It increases. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that as we get older, we're dealing with our junk, we're dealing with things from past relationships, and we're learning to connect with our spouse if we've been married for a really long time, and we get more secure in ourselves and more confident. And I think that has a lot to do with it. But if you're really struggling in the bedroom or just in relationship in general, you can employ some of these suggestions that I gave to you tonight and use them. And I would love to hear some feedback from you. And of course, if you have any questions, just comment below and I will definitely answer them. I definitely went over time tonight, and I do apologize, but I just thought this information was just too good for me to cut any of it short. So what I'm going to do now is end this particular online class for you all to then go to the photo albums. I'm going to put a bunch of these recipes up for you so you have access to them and you can use them moving forward. All right, guys, have a great evening, and I will catch you on the other side.